Hey, this is Jack, and this video is called Am I Lovable? My name's Jack Butler. I'm a relationship coach, and I release at least 2 new videos every week on relationships and personal growth. If you want to hear about those as soon as they come out, subscribe to the channel and then tap the bell notification, because that's the bit that will let you know of new videos. So are you lovable? Absolutely, you are lovable. Let's just be clear, blunt, straight to the point off the bat. You are absolutely lovable. And there's many things that go into that. Right? One of the reasons you're lovable is that you are unique in all time. The expression that is you is unique in all time, across time. So life has manifested you. God has manifested you. The universe has created you. You're incarnated here. And so there's something that's lovable about you because there's an absolute precious uniqueness to you. You may be not super connected to that at this moment of your life. Maybe you can take it from me. Maybe I can just pop that idea into your reality as something that you may come to know more seriously and fully over time. Right? So you're lovable because you're a unique member of this human family and this life that's happening here on earth. Right? You're lovable because it doesn't matter what bad stuff you've done in your life. Right? You kind of get a free pass. That part of loving is loving on the light and the dark. You and I, all of us, have darkness. Right? We have bad decisions we've made. We have ways that we've been selfish. Right? We've had ways that we've gone against our own nature, where we've disavowed ourselves, or we haven't listened to ourselves. We've had ways that we've ignored red flags. We've had ways that we've been duped, surprised, lured, led on, all of it. You and I, we've had that, right? And that still has nothing to do with how lovable we are. When you find the right guy to be in relationship with you, what you'll notice, if you're someone that dates men, when you find that guy, is that he'll actually be able to love you in your light and dark, and he may be able to love you in places that you haven't even been able to love yourself, right? So we all have these kind of core fears, right? Am I defective, right? Am I mean? Am I unlovable? Am I unwanted? Am I not accepted? Part of your being lovable doesn't mean that you're not going to have some of those stories run, right? We will all have moments where we don't feel loved or we don't feel lovable, but that doesn't actually pertain to whether we're actually lovable. You may be being invited, if this is a lot of your experience that I'm not lovable, you may be being invited into the crucible of your own spiritual transformation, right? You've probably heard people talk a lot about self-love. And if you're still questioning whether you're lovable, self-love, I imagine, is going to be part of your journey, right? Is the part of your journey is to forgive yourself fully, whatever happened, however you did or didn't show up, however mom or dad did or didn't show up for you. Part of the experience of being a child is that you're going to need to be loved in ways that you aren't loved consistently. Maybe in the fullness of time and conscious parenting, we can create holding environments for children where they're loved and attuned to in every way that they need. But that sounds a little pie in the sky for me at this moment of our evolution, right? A lot of our childhood is actually, I needed something, I wanted to be seen in a certain way, and I actually wasn't. Mom, dad, or whoever looked after me weren't available for that, not because they're bad, just because life, limitation, our own capacities, busyness, work, surviving, all of it, So if you had the experience, I didn't feel very loved in childhood, in some ways you're part of a club, right? We might have had more or less of that experience, but we've all had some of that experience. So now in adulthood, what do we want to do? We want to finish the business of childhood. And the business of childhood is knowing that I'm lovable, is knowing that I don't actually need every person to see, love, and accept me in order to know that I'm lovable. I don't actually need every person to value me and see me as worthwhile to know that I'm valuable and worthwhile, right? I sometimes talk about NCV, non-contingent value. Your value, your worth, your lovability doesn't depend upon anything. It's a given, right? It's almost like that's your universal given or God-given right, is that's there for you. Doesn't matter whether this guy thinks he wants a relationship with you. Doesn't matter whether this guy breadcrumbed you to high heaven. Doesn't matter whether this guy ghosted you or 17 guys have ghosted you. That has nothing to do with your value. You might say, it's hard for me to believe that, Jack, right? It's hard for me in my experience because I feel so undervalued. And I'm saying, well, let's get curious. Maybe there's a place and a wound in you called I'm not wanted, I'm not loved, I'm not valued. And that is getting triggered by all these different guys that are confirming to you a belief that unconsciously you already had about yourself, right? That's sometimes the deeper work, is to notice, oh, there's a place in me that when I experience feeling unloved, I can't actually love on myself, right? That might be the work, and that might be really painful, painstaking. You might have the mountain still to climb on that work, but it's worthwhile. because otherwise you're always in this kind of subtle unconscious dependency, like I need you to see me, I need you to value me, I need you to accept me, I need you to not reject me. I'm always slightly victim to what's coming into my field. Now, of course, can we have you be in a relationship with someone that has you feel loved a lot of the time? That would be amazing. The reality is it's just not going to happen all the time, right? No one can always do that for you. No one can always know the thing that you need to hear, or know that actually, they're giving you a gift, but what you really need is to be looked into the eyes and told that you're loved. Like, no one's going to do that perfectly. You aren't even going to do that perfectly from yourself. But we start to disconnect, the idea that because that's not happening all the time, therefore I'm unlovable. It's like, no, I'm completely lovable. I'm completely precious. I'm completely unique. That's my birthright. That's why life incarnated me. Right? And the more that kind of message can kind of impact you and get through to you, be true in your heart and your experience, the less you'll worry about whether you're lovable. You'll still have your down days. You'll still have your moments of doubt. It's like that gets included, right? When we start to lower the voice on the inner critic, it doesn't mean the inner critic goes away forever, right? It still pops up little moments, still pops up when you're tired and stressed, still pops up when you're contracted and says, hey, you don't work hard enough, or maybe you're not lovable, or maybe the reason that no guys claimed you is that you're not lovable. That might still be there as a voice, but you just realize it's kind of a voice. It's a developmental structure. It was there to keep you safe. It was there to help you internalize mom, dad, parenting, standards of society and culture, to help you survive, right? But what helps you survive doesn't always help you thrive. And so part of your development of being knowing in your own lovability is going to be relaxing that inner critic voice, because that's kind of the enemy of you feeling loved. Now, that structure, the inner critic, may bring things to your attention that are important for you to hear, right? It may have some valid concerns, but it may not deliver them to you in a loving way, right? So sometimes you have to be able to take the partial message that's helpful, like, hey, maybe you do need to develop more skills before you go out in that particular stage. Maybe that's true. But you start to disconnect that from, oh, therefore I'm not lovable. Your lovability isn't actually up for grabs. You've maybe seen me do this on another video where I don't actually have cash on me right now. But, I go in my pocket and I take out, here's a £20 note, roll it up, stamp on it, mash it up, open it up, still £20 note, still worth £20, $20, $100, whatever your thing is, right? Doesn't matter how beat up, doesn't matter how many bad experiences, that money still has its worth. You're the same thing. Doesn't matter how much life has put you through the ringer. It doesn't matter how much you've been abused, hurt, left, abandoned. That doesn't have to do with your lovability, right? That actually, most of that has to do with other people, right? If I'm abandoning you, that's really mostly about me, right? If I'm beating up on you, that's mostly about me. If I'm abusing you, that's mostly about me. If I'm being difficult and critical towards you, that's mostly about me. Now, there may be a place where you're going to grow by being able to hear someone's feedback, right? I'm often an advocate for people getting better at hearing other people's criticisms, because it can actually make you a better human. Right? If you can hear where someone's like, hey, there's a thing you do and I don't like it, or maybe there's a way that you go about your business and I think there's something better. The more we can be open to that criticism, often the better we can do. We can sieve it through, take out the bit that maybe is critical, but see there might be a gem in there for us. But none of that has to do with us not being loved. Right? It's sort of like, oh, I can receive your feedback and criticism, which, by the way, is going to have a lot to do with you and not just me. But whether I'm loved, that's not in question, because I know how to do that for myself. And I know how to receive that from other people. And I also just know my own value and origin, that I'm here and I'm unique and that life put me here, and that has a value in and of itself that's not really up for grabs. It's not determined by a market. It's not determined by the attention economy. It's not determined by how much you like me. Of course, I'm human and I like it when you like me. Of course, I'm human and I love it when you love me. But I'm not dependent upon that. I'm not needing that in quite the same way, because I'm actually good. I'm actually good. I have my frailties, I have my vulnerabilities, I have my distortions, I'm sometimes confused and I have doubt and I suffer. I'm human. I'm not trying to deny any of my own humanity. And I'm also loved, right? It's like I could be on the hardest path, I could be climbing up the Himalayas and the toughest ascent, and life might be throwing rocks at me, I might have footholds, I might break a leg, I might bump an elbow, I might be down on myself, all those things. Has nothing to do with whether you're loved, right? Your own lovability isn't up for grabs. It's sort of like when you realize that auction is just off the table, life gets a bit easier, right? Doesn't mean that sometimes you won't have the experience of I feel unloved, right? But it's like, I know that beneath I'm actually loved. I get that life is present to me, that life loves me, life wanted me here. That's part of the deal of why I came here, however you think that happens. It's kind of above my pay grade, but there's a sense that I have of knowing my own uniqueness and preciousness and knowing your own uniqueness and preciousness, and that's what I wanted to communicate to you in this video. If you always make every day a referendum on that, it's a harder path, right? If every interaction, oh, I don't feel like they looked at me in the way I wanted, now I don't feel loved. Oh, they didn't say the word I wanted, now I don't feel loved. They kind of seemed like they were ignoring me, now I don't feel loved. That's a kind of trap that you can just be trapped in until you realize that there's something of your own participation in there. There's some place in you that is hitting, that is having that experience recur. And once you get more curious about that, like, oh, every time I feel unloved, that is an invitation to my own wakefulness and presence. I don't need to push it away. I don't need to be afraid to feel unwanted. Let me actually feel it and want myself whilst I'm feeling my unwantedness. And that might sound paradoxical, but just hang in there a second, right? You can have that experience of someone didn't look at me in the way I liked. I've gone to my habitual place. I feel unloved, and I'm going to tend to myself, right? Just like if a child were coming to you crying because something bad had happened or they feel upset, you would love on them, right? You don't have to say, don't be upset, right? I can be with your upset even while I'm loving you. You can be with your own feelings of unwantedness even while you love on yourself. And when you do that for a long enough period of time and you know how to do that and you do it for yourself, then the question, am I lovable, will kind of be a non-question. It will be a sort of like, oh, I remember those days, or very occasionally on a dark day it may visit you, but it won't really be a core constellated part of your life. That's what I want for you. That's my hope and intention through this video. If you want more of this sort of style of like a deeper cut in reality, download my free guide. It'll be the first link beneath this video. It's called The Real Freedom Guide. I've had great feedback on it. It's real, it's deep, it's meaningful, it's not surface, it's not gimmicky. It's like, how do you really be loving and free as a human and free to be yourself? I want that for you. I think it's your birthright. If you're curious at all, download the link. It's completely free, and I look forward to hearing your experiences. And please, as always, questions and comments. Let me know. How is this landing? Am I making sense to you? What's your experience? And if you haven't, come on, let's subscribe. Where else do you get this kind of realness on YouTube? We know we want more of that in our lives. So I'd love for you to subscribe, tap the bell notification. I'm Jack. Thanks for being here.